Charles, LA con job central. We've got some craziness going on here in the United States. You are comfortably there in Malaysia. How are you today, Charles?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for asking. I had a nice late lunch yesterday at the Eastern and Oriental Hotel, which is famous. It's the oldest hotel in Penang, and it's famous to me for being the opening scene of Crazy Rich Asians, which is one of my favorite movies, is shot in the Heritage Wing lobby where I get my taxi to go back home. So I had a very nice day there, nice meal, and slept early. But I got up this morning and I was watching this channel, Smoke and Scan, I guess is the name of it, and looking at what's going on there. I'm just absolutely horrified. In part because I was born in Los Angeles, and I'm sure there are children being born right now in Los Angeles. And if there's any kind of elderly person or afflicted person with injuries trying to get to hospitals, you can't get through Los Angeles now because thousands, and it looks like many thousands of people at multiple places are blocking freeways, are blocking intersections, and threatening, boy, thunder just heard, and threatening police officers.
Yeah.
And, this doesn't happen. I know, the internet is a thing and all that, but this doesn't happen without coordination.
Wow.
And,
yeah, look at that. This is
yeah,
day 3 of this, Charles.
And there's signs, similar signs being printed and people with the knapsack outfits, and it's obviously coordinated. And so the key to this, I was told, years ago when I met some important generals, that their American generals, that their approach in this kind of thing is you have to have overwhelming force. You can't confront a crowd of 10,000 with 100 cops. You just can't do that. And that seems to be what that seems to be what they're doing here. They don't yet have the forces they need. And I was watching earlier. I actually didn't want to watch it, but I just couldn't stop watching. And so I watched for about an hour. And I guess they are 3 hours behind you. So it is credible that this is a live shot. It says live on it. Doesn't mean it is, but you look at this and you look at the Mexican flags, you look at the similar outfits, you look at the similar signs, and whose interest does this serve? It certainly doesn't serve the United States' interest. And I'm harking back to, I believe that we probably under Trump may have poked the Chinese bear with those Hong Kong protests. If you remember, there were spontaneous pro-democracy protests, I think under Trump in Hong Kong, at the same time that Trump was pushing the Chinese hard on tariffs. And this could very easily be instigated by the Chinese, maybe in coordination with the Ukrainians or the Europeans or whatever. But certainly this seems to involve charities. And I'm sick of this. I am sick of charities being used to attack my country. And people like Cory Booker, gets up on one of these stupid shows and says these protests are largely peaceful. If these protests were in a park, I might agree with them, but they're on a freeway. They have shut a freeway down. You do that, that is not a peaceful protest. I don't need to be a Rhodes Scholar to figure out that that's not peaceful, the way Cory Booker was a Rhodes Scholar, an asphalt scholar, asshat scholar. But, so you have Maxine Kooky Waters, once again, as this is building, say she wants the crowds to grow and grow. No, you can't. You don't have the freedom to instigate a riot in a sanctuary city. You do not have that freedom. Karen Bass, I hadn't appreciated that she visited Cuba 7 times when it was illegal to visit. She's a Marxist.
Yeah.
This woman, she, I think, Waters, Bass, Newsom, these foundations, you have to cut to stop this rioting. You've got to go to the head. You've got to cut the head off. No, I don't mean violently, but you've got to go to these people and you've got to explain to them, you don't have the right as one of 435 congresspeople representing portions of Los Angeles to instigate a riot, to throw gasoline on a fire. You do not have that right. Where is Obama? What does he have to say about all this? Where is freaking Mike Pence? What does he have to say about this? And, Trump, I hope they put this down tonight, your time. But they need to go, anybody, any Antifa leader, any Extinction Rebellion leader, and similar operations like that, they need to be rounded up tonight in their homes, brought to jail, put up on charges. Because I'm certain that nonprofits are fomenting this, fake nonprofits. And there's one, it's called something Barrio, Barrio. I think Data Republican has the name of it. In the paid section, maybe we'll look through that and see who's on the board of that thing. But, the abuse of charities and the support of this color revolution inside the United States of America, this is being egged on by people like Norm Eisen, Andrew Weissman, other people that you're more familiar with than I am, Jason. And it's been tolerated for too long. You do not have the right to do this kind of stuff, to shut down freeways, to endanger officers' lives. And shame on Newsom, and shame on Bass, and shame on anybody who is, and there's some ridiculous city council member who's saying, she wants the riots, in essence, she wants the riots to build. No. As one American, I am not going to subsidize illegal aliens. I'm not doing it. And it's enough is enough. I mean, they've got an open southern border. I do not understand how that serves anybody's legitimate interests. I think this is an 80-20 issue, particularly once you start seeing illegals, in your home or your neighbor's home, right? And people start getting hurt because these are not just in the main, law-abiding asylum seekers who got on the wrong side of some Central American or Mexican law. These are criminals.
The whole thing is insane, Charles. I mean, I remember when the Rodney King LA riots were going on, it didn't seem to be this scope. I mean, we didn't have, obviously, social media at that time. I think it was 1992 or 1993. They were demanding the release of detained migrants. I mean, this is an insurrection right here. This is what a real insurrection looks like. I mean, violence in the streets, burning cars. We had an overhead shot before. So here, look at this.
Yeah, I mean, if that's real,
cars.
If that's
of course
real,
it's real.
Then
it's real.
You got to go right up the chain to the board of trustees of these NGOs.
Where did you see the name of this Barrio NGO? Data Republican is a lying bitch who puts out nonsense about me and refuses to back down.
Right, but she did have it's on X. You just go and if you just put Data Republican with
no, I mean I have her here, but I don't see what the.
She had a specific tweet where she listed out the names of organizations. One of them is BARR. It's something like El Barrio or something Barrio, N Barrio, BARRIO. She had an actual link to the thing I saw was a link to the audit on the foundation, but I didn't open the link. And this is playing out actually right now. I mean, the mayor of Los Angeles is supposed to be speaking any minute.
Union del Barrio.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how big it is. I don't know who's on the board of it. But
it's funny, neighborhood something. It always seems to be, that's the name they like. So here we go. El Barrio. No, that's not it. Union del Barrio solicits donations through La Verdad publications. Can you find either of them? She's saying.
Yeah. I mean, this is why you need, and we have the acting director of the tax exempt organization unit of the IRS is Robert Choi, who served in a capacity, senior capacity in the IRS in 2010 and 2011, when the IRS has admitted that they were persecuting right-leaning Tea Party organizations. This man is currently acting director of the tax-exempt organization. He's the very person who's probably obstructing any look-see into the degree to which nominally tax-exempt organizations are engaging in illegal activities inside our country, dangerous illegal activities. Don't think for a second that America's enemies aren't watching this. They're looking at this and saying, "Now, wait a minute. We can press for advantage here, right? Let's stir this up. Let's make this a problem for Trump. Let's have this maybe threaten Trump's legitimacy as a domestic leader and distract him from what he's trying to do internationally."
I mean, isn't that exactly what they're trying to do? They want, we got people complaining that Trump's going to bring in the National Guard, and you had Gavin Newsom saying they don't need the National Guard. So Here we go. Union del Barrio, La Verdad publication since 1981. So they've defended the rights of La Raza. So see, that's
La Raza is a horrible.
Yeah.
La Raza is a horrible organization, and you need to put your foot down. I remember when they were testing Reagan, and Drew Lewis was the Secretary of Transportation, and the air traffic controllers went on strike, and Reagan, had warned, "Don't you dare go on strike," and Drew Lewis felt to Drew Lewis to do it. He said, "Fuck you, air traffic controllers! You're all fired. We're not respecting your union contract. We're going to go and replace all of you." And the talking heads were, "Oh, you can't do that. Planes are going to fall out of the sky." Nothing of the sort happened. Of course, idiots like Cory Booker and whoever was on the Sunday shows are going to decry this and say this is now, this didn't happen under Obama. This is bullshit. This is a coordinated color revolution, and we need to get to the bottom of who's behind it. And the people who are behind this need to be severely punished, especially if this includes, dissident members of the federal government. Imagine that.
Charles, these things are not, La Verdad publications is not showing up in open corporates. See, Data Republican, I just do not trust at all, because if someone's going to go out and put out lies about me and then not retract them, what else is she putting out lies about? She's become this trusted source. Doesn't that make her a perfect element of, distracting people away from who's actually paying for this? So Union del Barrio, when we search, no.
Okay. I mean, well, look up the Extinction Rebellion, because that I know is a UK charity. I know that. I don't know if it has US operations, but you and I have seen Extinction Rebellion symbols in New York City.
Yeah.
At these various protests. So we can find. Did you find Extinction Rebellion?
Looking for it right now.
Okay.
Well, as you said, we'll get into. Oh yeah, we've got a few things here for Extinction Rebellion. So this is looking directly on the IRS. They're not hiding at all. They got a Washington D.C. Extinction Rebellion U.S. Boise, Idaho.
Shut that motherfucker down.
Which one do you want to look at here?
Extinction Rebellion. The one
DC,
DC,
U.S.,
DC,
Youth, Boise,
DC. But there's also one in the UK. It started in the UK, and I believe that some hedge fund guys have been big contributors in the UK.
They have a 990N postcard. That seems not enough. Easy. Let's go back and see if the other ones are larger.
Yeah, there is one.
US. Rebellion U.S.
That's probably
auto revocation list. What is that talking about? Organization whose federal tax exempt status was automatically revoked for not filing a Form 990.
All right. Okay.
So
well,
2021, this was revoked.
Okay, but so look for it in the UK, because it definitely. I found it in the UK for sure.
Well, wait a minute. We're going a little bit too fast.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll do it in the paid section.
Yeah. But this is definitely a growing and rather dynamic problem here. I'm pretty upset. I used to live in LA. The 101 ran right behind my house.
Right. Well, don't think it's not going to spread to New York. I think there already, are some protests building in New York, but this is not okay. This is absolutely not okay, and it couldn't. It's coming at a very tense moment for the Trump administration. You know that Chuck Schumer, I think, has placed a hold on many appointments that are required. You know, when
What do you
Obama
mean?
was confirmed, there are many people that have not yet been confirmed in the Senate because Chuck Schumer, one senator, can place a hold on anybody basically,
It's
and so
ridiculous that they allow that.
you know, I mean, well, here's Chuck Schumer is, you know, if he's not 80, he's almost 80. He's been in Congress or the Senate forever. If there are problems, they're because of him. And this guy is making it his personal mission, along with that idiot Chris Van Hollen and others, to just, you know, grind the gears down of the Trump administration, even though there was an election. I mean, we had in 2024 and previous elections, Donald Trump was painted as the enemy of democracy, but it's the Democrats. Hillary Clinton didn't respect the outcome of the 2000 election. You know, as a sitting senator, she repeatedly said that George W. Bush was selected, not elected. She still. I was just looking through this Crohn's latest work, which I can't believe I paid for. But she's still bitter and twisted about 2000 and 2008 and 2016. Democrats don't respect election outcomes. They manufacture them. You know, and
Charles,
I don't think that.
People are asking what data Republicans said about me, and the answer to that question is using this account that's allegedly operated by her mother, which I found a lot of potentially contradictory information about that. They said that I had spread the false statement that Data Republican wasn't actually deaf. I never said that, and they refused to retract it. I also found information that Data Republican's parents, the mother, and her father, who appears to be deceased, lived on a street in North Carolina that was named after the father, which seemed to suggest that the father might have had something to do with real estate development in North Carolina. And Data Republican was specifically trying to tell people that there was nothing to the information that I was developing about Senator Tom Tillis. People might remember just a few weeks ago, I had come up with all of this stuff about Tom Tillis being involved in some crazy real estate shenanigans in North Carolina. Data Republican basically looked at it, and without providing any kind of comprehensive, contradictory facts, just said, oh, there's nothing here, nobody should look at it. So, I mean, again, this to me seems, I would just caution people. It's not like, ooh, I don't like her, don't look at what she says. I caution people to just basically use their discernment, because these accounts come out of nowhere. They get retweeted by Elon Musk and suddenly rise to 700,000 followers. It is exactly the way that they would plant a disinformation social engineering account that's designed to gain people's trust by putting out a certain amount of trustworthy information and then directing you away from something like all of this. This is stuff that I got from filings made by Tom Tillis. Tom Tillis is up to a lot of very crazy stuff. We're not going to go into that on today's show, but I mean, again, I'm just cautioning people against listening to something that Data Republican says, because why would she lie about me and then refuse to retract it and block me? Seems odd.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know, I definitely suspect, I should say, that Extinction Rebellion, which is an entity in the UK, has acolytes on College Camp High. Those acolytes don't have jobs. This is summer riot season is in full force. We do know as well that on Trump's birthday, which I guess is a week from, is this coming Saturday, he's planning to have a gigantic 250th anniversary celebration of I think the Army in Washington, D.C., where troops will be there. So you got to believe that the Extinction Rebellion mob and others will be out in force to try to protest. And they're just trying to, what they want is they want a Kent state. You know, they want
exactly.
An incident. I just was watching on Smoke and Scan or whatever it's called. There were many people carrying Mexican flags, but there was one guy at the front of the tip of the spear in one of the protests with a big American flag upside down, which is a sign of distress. You're not supposed to fly that, you know, in that way, unless there truly is distress for Americans, not for illegal immigrants trying to break into this country. But It's a cool thing to do on campus to be anti-Trump and to say, to resist this idea that DEI is bullshit, which it is. And so all this, the nominally cool, scruffy kids, most of them, the only place they can get employment is if they have a trust fund. But many of them, I suspect, are not gainfully employed and won't be this summer. So they're perfect cannon fodder for the people who want to stir shit up and try to bring Trump down one way or another. And it's those rabble, the Andrew Weissmans, the Norm Eisen. Norm is out there, as you know better than I, constantly bragging about how he's going to bring Trump down. I mean, you don't have that right, Normie. You just don't.
Well, he's doing plenty of things that are against the law. And I mean, I've raised them in court, and rather than the judges doing anything to stop them, they just cure the defects. I mean, this is what happened in the Signalgate case. I pointed out that Norm was using a defective nonprofit to try to be the plaintiff. So what they did is they just shifted to Mark Zaid being the plaintiff and continuing to use this defective nonprofit structure. You and I spoke about it, where they're funneling something like $6 million from a 501c3 to a similarly named 501c4. I don't think that this Union del Barrio doesn't seem to be a company or any kind of anything beyond just a website.
Well, that's the Clinton Foundation. That's the hallmark. You get a celebrity, and you state that you're doing something that sounds good on paper, and you don't actually organize. But because you're Bill Clinton or you're this ridiculous Barrio group or La Raza, you're able to get a bank account. And then what you do,
it says it's a non-governmental organization in San Diego.
Well,
where's the address?
Does it have an EIN?
I can't find it, but let's see if we can find something. We'll find it.
Yeah. So then what you do? I mean, remember you brought up it was 92 the riots, and I remember that because I had switched from Dillon Reed to a new firm, and I was concerned. There were reports of nasty, violence-prone people descending on Times Square, and I said, you know what? I think it was a Friday. We're going to leave early. And I got my family and we left. It was tense actually driving out of the city on that day, and that's around the time that the charity grifter John Hope Bryant decided that he was going to create Operation Hope in 1992, and he's been grifting off that ever since. So these people who are allowed to abuse charities, the first step is you pretend you have one. You may even get one. But then what you do is we talked about this in 2017, our first broadcast. Then what you do, one of our early broadcasts, is you open up multiple bank accounts. And you have people send money to these bank accounts, but you don't declare all the incomings. You steal them. And then you go around making a nuisance of yourself. I mean, that's in essence what community organizing is. You're making a nuisance of yourself to get something for the leadership of your movement. That's why Al Sharpton, he's a classic community organizer. Barack Obama, I wonder if Barack Obama's fingerprints are all over this recent color revolution, because they must be worried. Folks who've been on the grift, the charity grift for decades, must be worried what will happen should Trump actually get to the bottom of all this.
I mean, isn't it amazing that PayPal allows these things to collect money? People from January 6th and even people who were just talking about controversial topics in 2022, 2019, you were just getting kicked right off. And here they are allowing something that's got no EIN. I'm searching for the address on ProPublica. Doesn't show up. This is something we're going to have to really dig into, Charles.
What if you search in the name anywhere in the filing, you might get to people who've contributed to it.
That's what I've been trying to do. Nothing at all. In the filing text, nothing shows up at all. It's the first time we've seen that. Usually we can get to stuff like this, but we're out of time here on the intro. People who want to join us on this, see, that's why I'm not so sure. How does Data Republican even know that's there? She could be sending people down a blind alley.
Right.
So somebody says 3 separate EINs with similar names, no filing for banking purposes. Only Logan Avenue neighborhood called Barrio Logan.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're able, remember that, the cartels have a gigantic money laundering problem, right? They have a huge amount of cash. You can't go, as far as I know, I don't think you can go and buy, heroin with a credit card. I mean, I think it's a cash business.
I'm sure somebody's got that worked out. Remember when Hunter Biden went to some haberdashery and it was like a $2,000 bill? I bet you that included something crazy. Anyway, Charles, people are going to be able to join us on the various Crowdsource the Truth sponsorship channels. Thanks to everybody who's sponsoring the show. Odyssey still doesn't have a new payment processor, so I appreciate everybody who's watching the sponsored shows there for free, but it doesn't help the show continue. So consider joining on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And of course, people who are subscribing to me on X at JG_CSTT are also going to get the sponsor exclusive content. We'll be back in 5 minutes. We'll dig into this Union del Barrio. I might have to make a donation and see where that goes to find out more about what this thing is all about. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be right back.